What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Tyrauku here, and today we're going to do a weekly recap of my most recent Plat push. So we're going to start this video off at the 7-minute 55-second mark into, I guess, what's left of the arena. You can see down here in this little bitty corner. But basically, I pushed Plat over the weekend. I want to make this a series and do this each weekend. But more so, I want to start branching out into some teams that maybe I haven't tried before, some more unique teams, because this week was very similar to last week where really the same team was used. Very similar team. Basically, actually the same thing. I did try to, branch out a little bit throughout some of these fights. I think had some speed fights against speed Kaimars where I was like, let's throw in a Rio Bone Spear. Rio's an excellent counter to Kaimar, and it kind of worked, but once it got into like the crunch time, so like the last 10 minutes or so, I really stopped all that creativity and try to just narrow my focus on teams that I knew I could beat. Now, this Plat push went very interestingly. Basically, I'll let you guys see it play out, but I did really good. Now, it's not going to show this part right here because this is past the point, I think, or maybe it's right at the point where I was doing good, but I was doing really good. I was in a groove. I don't know what it was, but I was winning every match back-to-back, super quick, very fast matches, going through the list, no problem. But then all of a sudden, something happened, and I started getting back-to-back losses. On offense is very bad. You don't want any offense losses. Defense losses, not a huge deal because your defense is mostly there to just deter people from ever attacking, maybe to bait people if you're really confident in your defense. But most of the time when people attack you, they're going to beat you, okay? You're going to have much more offense losses, offense wins than you will defense wins. So everybody else is most likely also going to have more offense wins than they do defense losses, meaning majority of players' defense is going to have a pretty low win rate most of the time. Now, there are some defenses that slide through every now and then that actually get some really high win rates. Thunder, I saw your defense. He posted in my the clan chat, a clan member of mine. He got 27th, and his defense absolutely demolished people. It did so good. He placed 27th, which is amazing. So congrats to you, Thunder. But this right here, this team I think does fine. Right now we're at 7 minutes. This is the exact same team I was using before. My +4 Ray, my best damage dealer. I was using Leo for a little while, but he just wasn't, he's not quite able to hit hard enough. Once the Dark Fae rotation of Doom Tower comes back, I'm going to be farming that every single day because I need some better Savage gear, some better lethal gear. They're the same thing basically, but I will be farming that so much. Now, here soon, that team right there, okay, this was a bad decision, okay? So let's back this up just a little bit and I'll tell you why it was a bad decision. Let's see if we can get, this is the team I'm actually looking at. Let's see. Dang, I can't scrub it. If I tried scrubbing it, it'll just make it take even longer. But when I went out of this match, okay, what I'm looking for when I scroll through stuff are Necrits and Duchesses, okay? When I saw this team by this player right here, I see a Necrit, I see a Duchess. I'm like, okay, my Ramen 2 is going to shut down their passives. It's not going to be a huge deal. I saw the Wither. I was like, okay, not really a huge issue. I can probably kill her, right? And then Candrafon. Well, the issue is that my Nuker is weak affinity to both Candrafon and Wither. So going into a fight versus probably the most or one of the most annoying defense champions as far as a champion who, if you don't kill her, she makes the fight take so long. And when you're pushing Plat, getting a victory is very important, but it's almost more important to get a victory quickly. Because if you're getting a victory that takes 3 minutes, that's basically like 3 or 4 fights, maybe even more, maybe even 5 or 6 fights that you could have done. So going against a Wither with a weak affinity champion is a pretty risky move. You see Duchess got the res there. She had the stone skin on. It stayed through. I couldn't strip it. She got the res. Wither's back up. And at this point, I've already went through my first nuke from Ray. You'll notice that I'm using the A3 ability. It's not the hardest hitting ability. Her A2 is the hardest hitting, but the A3 can strip, and I believe it can actually, it hits, and then it strips, I think. Because I've seen it strip stone skin, or not stone skin. I've seen it strip Swift Parry. The way it works with a strip is kind of weird, but it like takes the Swift Parry off and freezes them and does their full HP and damage. But it also strips things like Stone Skin before it attacks. So I'm not really sure how the strip actually works. Maybe I'm just completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure against like Skull Crowns and Leos, it actually attacks them and then strips. I don't really know how it works, to be honest. But here we go. We've got some good debuffs going up. Ray comes in with the A2 here. I don't know for sure. I don't remember if this was a win or a loss. Okay, so the A2 ability, that was literally what my entire fate of this match was riding on. The A2 ability comes in, doesn't kill everybody, and at this point, I'm like, screw it. I could maybe win that match, maybe, but I would have to cycle back around to Ramen 2 strip him, which he was dead, so there's really no cycling back around to that. And then my Ray, her A. The downside with Ray is that her A2 and A3 are pretty long cooldowns, and her A1 it hits hard, but it's not hard enough. So once you exhaust those two options, it's kind of just you can wait, or you can just give up the match. It's kind of how I feel like it is. Now this team right here, this team is typically a pretty easy matchup. However, if you have this team, if you're not running a protection set Necrit, I think you're doing it wrong. I think a protection set Necrit in this setup right here with the Cupidus and Venus is the best way to go. Because if Necrit protects Cupidus with the block debuffs, if that gets protected, oh my gosh, my team just literally melts. However, if it doesn't protect the block debuffs, it's not that big of a deal. Let's go ahead and see how this match works. These are the two that really started the downward spiral for me. So before this, I had done like 8 matches, all wins, very good. I was easily within the top 100 at this point. But right here, this is where things start to get a little bit shaky, okay? So let's see how this actually works. Let's see if he protects that. So the block debuffs is not protected. I don't know if this Necrit is in protection gear or not. That's the downside with protection, is that sometimes it protects a lot of debuffs or a lot of buffs, and sometimes it protects nothing. So obviously somebody's in Bolster. Bolster works great with Brogni, but the Cupidus, sorry, is not protected as far as the debuff goes or the buff. And Venus is not protected either. Now the passives are shut down, so Cupidus isn't going to be doing the counterattacking, I don't believe, unless he procs like Avenging Gear or Retaliation Gear. My Ray comes in, and the Bolster set absolutely saved him. It had such a big damage block. How much did my Ray hit for there, actually? I'm curious, because she hit for, I guess, 6,600, but I can't really see that well because of the shield damage. So Ray hits, boom. Yeah, literally can't see any of the shield damage. 16,000, that's unfortunate. So much text. 6,600, I don't really know what she hit for, but obviously that shield is pretty big, and Ray hit for 6,600. No decreased defense, usually not a big deal, but that situation it was. Maybe I should have used the A3 ability there, maybe to strip some of that stuff from the champions, possibly freeze them. That would have been the better option, because if I could freeze that Cupidus, he had the block debuffs, but I could strip that with Ray and then freeze him. That would have allowed the match to be perfectly fine. Like right here, you can see that I do strip that. So I should have used that first. Honestly, this was a match that I could have went back into. If I would have went back into it though, and that Necrit was in protection gear, that could definitely have been another fail. And having 2 fails back to back on a run that's not definitely lost to RNG is a little bit risky. So at that point, I'm kind of panicking, to be honest. I'm like, okay, I'm not looking at my defense log. I don't want to start getting messed up with that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to focus, keep grinding, and we start into the next match. The next match here, we have Cardiel, Siphi, Arsuga, and Rotos. This is actually pretty similar to my team that I'm running on defense, which I'll show you guys after this video, which you may or may not be interested in. It did okay, but let's see. We have Ramen 2 strip everybody. Perfect. He is so incredibly good. And honestly, teams like this, super smooth, because Siphi and Rotos work so well. This team in general works so well because of the passive, okay? With Cardiel, if you run him, at least my idea, if you run him, you got to expect people, especially in a team like this where passive from Rotos, Arsuga, and Siphi are so important, you kind of got to expect that people are going to run Ramen 2. So Cardiel is perfect because his passive isn't really that big of a deal. So when his passive gets locked out, he still has his active skill ability available to use, which is a cleanse. So my idea is to have him going pretty slow, at least able to cleanse the block passives from your other champions once it gets to them. So especially Siphi, so she can cleanse Rotos, no problem whatsoever. Arsuga with her passive ability blocked is basically useless, to be honest. But there we go. We kill everybody once. They come back from revival and death. We use the ally attack from Necrit, and it works out perfect. Now, one thing I want to mention is that somebody before in my other video mentioned why not use Necrit to go first. So use Necrit's ally attack and then use Ray with her A3 after Necrit goes. Seemed like a good idea at first. I tested out a little bit. The cycle of violence mastery actually messes that all up, because if enemies have that, they get the turn meter boosted with my Ray crits, and it's just a bad day from there. Now, you'll see in this list that I'm skipping a lot of potential teams I could face. This team right here, I think I've actually beat this team before, but once again, very risky. If that Necrit protects that block debuffs, it could make my run go terrible. So teams like this, honestly, this team right here may have been fine because I block passives on Arsuga, and that could actually have been perfectly fine, honestly. I think I actually hit that team. Yeah. The Mystic one at the very bottom, that's actually another one that's been a very solid option as well. A team at the very bottom, let me see. Because the big thing is you got to be careful with the points on these teams. Some of the teams give very low points towards the top of the list. Ones at the bottom give 11, so that's really good. Now this one down here at the very bottom, that's maybe the Mystic one with the Kandrafon +3, Duchess +2. That's a potentially very tanky team. It just kind of depends how they're actually built. It could have been a quick win or it could have been a loss. Looks like to me I'm taking the chance with another Cupidus team, even though I had just lost to one. The Cupidus, like I said, it's a very RNG heavy team. I've had some Cupidus that absolutely just tank so many counterattacks and it's a nightmare. And I've had some Cupidus where I use the A3 correctly, freeze them, they can't counterattack then, and then just proceed through the match no problem. If the Cupidus doesn't get a turn or they're frozen, then the match is pretty smooth, to be honest. So there we go. The Venus is still alive. I did like the Stone Skin. I thought it was pretty interesting. This is the first time that I've started seeing bolster set actually used on champions. So I guess the Arsuga obviously was in the bolster gear. I would assume Necro, I guess, could have been. I don't know if he was in Stone Skin or not, but he could have been in bolster as well. But Arsuga, probably the best candidate. Now look right there. That part right there. I just panicked. I'm like, what in the world? I was doing my matches pretty quick. I just went from Plat into Gold 5. I'm like, oh man, this is becoming a nightmare. I'm like, how am I going to post this week's video if I don't even make it into Plat? The floor in Plat, even if you're not getting attacked on defense, it moves so quickly. These last few weeks, like if you're not winning back to back to back super fast, then you're going to fall out. And if you're getting losses like I did in my last two, or my two back to back, honestly, I had to be very high in Plat to have taken 2 losses and still not be kicked out. At least is how I was feeling. But we'll see. Hopefully you guys can't hear my littlest crying in the background right now. But here we go. We have Kandrafon with Swift Parry. Always a super annoying situation. We're back in Plat now, so we're looking pretty decent. We got 1 minute and 25 seconds left, and then I'll get into explaining my offense a little bit. We talked about it in the previous Plat video, but then I'll talk about my defense a little bit. So I did change my name, obviously. It's L Fanboy, same thing as it was last time. Maybe I start mixing it up even more. I don't use a content creator avatar. It literally makes a target on my back. If anybody has a content creator avatar, it sticks out so much. You scroll through the list, boom, people can easily spam that. It's very memorable. A lot of people will remember your names, go through there, click on the people who they recognize, and just farm them over and over and over. It's a good way to place. But if your name or your avatar stands out too much, it's very easy to scroll through and find you, no problem. Now, maybe if you had like dupes of a champion built differently and somebody scrolled through and saw it, and like the last 15 minutes you change your defense to the other built champions, maybe that situation could be really good. Maybe you had a fast Siffy before, but now you have a high resist Siffy. You swap them up. That could be a decent strategy because people would see your name. They'd have to redo their team. So that first time would possibly be a win. Maybe you switched in like the last 10 minutes or so. Right here's a little, oh, this match was the one that messed me up so bad. So you'll see I had 1 minute 25 left, okay? So when I got into this match, I probably had what, like 1 minute 20? You'll see here, I'm like my Ray, watch what she does, okay? She uses her A1 ability, boom, petrification. I'm like, oh no. I'm looking at my clock on my monitor, my second monitor. I'm like, oh, please don't hit 4, please don't hit 4, please don't hit 4. And then all of a sudden, boom, turns to 4. And I'm like, no, the match doesn't even count. I think it gets right. It's just barely, just a few seconds over. So at this point, I'm kicking myself like, man, if I would have turned it on manual, I could have finished that match. But because I did auto, I wasn't able to. So you'll see here, that match at the very top was actually a victory on offense or defense, a defense victory, which is great. However, you may have noticed, maybe not. Let's see if we get, we'll rewind it 10 seconds real quick. But that very first match on defense, once I click there, boom, no points because they sat it out, they waited it through, and I got nothing. So I did get a victory, but I got nothing from that. Unfortunately, that could have definitely made me place better. Now here we got some losses. This was a Yumiko team. My team is high resist, so it makes sense why it didn't actually do that well. Ramen 2, Yoshi works very well against my team. Some of these teams, I'm honestly surprised that if they went fast, I'm very surprised. I got a feeling teams like this are very slow, especially with my team. I don't think I have any AoE damage. Well, I do, but it's not very consistent. And Cupidus works heavily off of AoE damage, so I'll be surprised if the team was fast. But scrolling through here, we did get a victory right here. The Siffy, really common defense, really common offense, so we did get a victory out there, which is nice. We got another victory right here against a Warlord team, which is what I was heavily thinking about when I built my team. So it's great to see. A lot of these teams, I'm kind of surprised they won, to be honest, because I feel like they would be slow. Maybe they're trying to just absolutely obliterate me, but we'll see. Towards the bottom, we have one more victory there. I think it was the last victory during the actual push. These ones were outside. So last 10 minutes, I think I got hit like 9 times, 1-3, maybe 10 times, 1-3. So it's not terrible. Definitely not great. Going down here, we placed, thankfully we placed, right? 470. I got all deflection gear, which I feel like is kind of never gets used. But when it is used and it does like actually deflect a debuff, it's like really weird, really surprising. People are like, what the heck just happened? I just got slept. I tried to sleep in them and now I'm asleep. But it's definitely interesting. So we got placed 470. This is my defense that I use. So we have Cardiel in the lead. Honestly, I think I should have swapped Cardiel and Sify because my team is a resist team. My Cardiel is built high resist. When you look at this team, obviously you guys can see my Cardiel is built high resist with the team power. But with this setup, I don't think anybody's thinking this is actually a speed team. So having Cardiel in the lead with a speed aura isn't going to make people bring that much different of teams, I don't think. So having Sify in the lead, I think will give my Cardiel enough resistance to resist majority of people without an increased accuracy and do a lot better. So I do think if I build this team again, if I use it again, I will use Sify in the lead. It's extra 80 accuracy. That's pretty significant. So let me show you guys my actual champ builds over here. So the defense that I used, let's see if it's still there or not. It is. It's still there. The exact same thing. We have Sify, Cardiel, Candrafile. Let me show you the presets and everything like that, the stats in here, and then we'll look at the actual stats. So 180 speed. He's pretty slow. Opens with the cleanse. Decent HP. He's in Stone Skin. Good resistance. So 762 resist right now. But 762 resistance actually isn't that great. So 762 resist. He's getting stripped by 700 accuracy champion. So honestly, I definitely needed to run the 80 accuracy, 80 resistance aura. So honestly, why'd I do that? I'm missing some faction guardian. So if I get a faction guardian, he'll be about 800 resist, 792 before any auras, which would be pretty significant because the faction guardian slot will be plus 30 accuracy and plus 30 resistance. So that'll be nice. But honestly, that's a big reason why I wasn't doing as good as I was hoping to, is because 762 resistance isn't resisting that much. You want to have about 80 to 100 resistance more than the enemy has accuracy. And enemies at, let's see, 762 minus 80. Champions with 682 accuracy, which is pretty low, are stripping my champion no problem. Well, assuming Stone Skin doesn't activate. More so, Warlords. Warlords are easily going to be able to lock him out. So honestly, that was a pretty bad choice. I should have definitely cranked that up some more or put Sify in the lead. But for whatever reason, I didn't. So Sify is 284 speed. She's pretty fast. Relatively fast for the rest of my team. She is in protection gear. She has good HP, decent defense, HP being the main focus. Resist kind of just falls there because of the banner that I have on her. Not really gearing for that. But opens with his A2 ability. And yeah, it was all good. Her speed is okay though. I think I'd like to get her closer to 300. I can. I'll show you the guys the gear in a second. I'm missing a pair of substat speed on gloves with HP percentage. Once I get that, I'll be fine. My Candrafon is in lethal gear. We just have him like this. I turn this ability off because I feel like sometimes Candrafons use this when they could kill somebody and it messes stuff up. Maybe this ability is pretty good, especially with Cardiel, but I just went ahead and turned it off. I need to test it some more. And then Duchess. She's my newest built champion. So I'll show you guys her build. I like it. Honestly, I'm a big fan of it. I thought it performed pretty well. Let me jump into a match real quick before I show you guys the gear, and I'll show you how this all plays out. So we'll go against this Kymar team. Honestly, I'm kicking myself now that I didn't have the team on the right positions, because having Sify in the lead would have made that so much better, I feel like. So Candrafon here, and then Duchess over here. So let me show you guys how this actually plays out. It's actually a pretty consistent team. That resistance from Sify would have definitely made a pretty significant difference, especially if Cardiel had the Sacred Order dupes to get him that plus 30 resistance from the faction guardians. That would be so incredibly helpful. But here we go. Cardiel survives everything. Sify was pretty squishy. Honestly, I may rebuild her because even against a team like that with no decreased defense on my Sify, she got pretty low on HP. So I may have to rebuild her, even with the bolster set from Duchess, which is like a 30,000 extra HP shield, which is definitely nice. She's taking a beating. So my Duchess is set to open with her res. The reason why I did that is because sometimes Duchess doesn't open with the res, if, like, I guess her AI is weird. So I always wanted her to prioritize the res if somebody was dead and then use the A2 any other time. So with that team, let's try this one real quick. That's definitely an interesting thing to see because most of the teams I tested on, Sify wasn't getting absolutely nuked down like that. But this situation kind of definitely gives me some insight into this and how it's working. So Duchess takes a beating there as well. Not a huge deal. She does have decreased defense. Unfortunate, yes, but not the end of the world. So we'll use the A2, and then Kandrafon will smack everybody, right? Let's see. We have the sound effects going on in the background. You guys may not be able to hear them. A2 there, boom. And then Kandrafon just hits so hard. He is an absolute train, like a wrecking ball. He's so good. Now let's back out of here. Let me show you guys the actual gear of these champions. But I will be re-gearing them. So I don't know how exactly yet. There's a few things I want to do, okay? So my goal in going into next Sunday is going to be to have a consistent Warlord counter, which was also my goal last week, is to have a consistent Warlord counter. But I didn't actually jump into actually doing it because Warlord, countering him, especially if you use a champion like Cardiel, where you're relying on resisting the enemy, the 3% chance to basically ignore being resisted is definitely an issue. So if I start a match, go into it, I get 3%ed, he locks me out, then I'm in a bad spot for sure. But maybe we continue to try it out. I'll see. Maybe I have Lydia in the lead. I don't know. We'll try something out. This is my Sify though. She has a reaction, so she should be surviving pretty well. I need a reaction ring actually. I don't think I have one though. I do have a good defense ring. I guess it's on my Necrit, plus a quad roll defense ring. But as far as this goes, she's in protection gear. She has no speed on her gloves. If I get some speed there, she's going to be closer to 300 speed, maybe even slightly over once I get everything glyphed as well. So it's going to be pretty solid. We're missing some good glyphs on a few of these pieces, and my banner isn't the fastest in the world. Only a single roll, it's resistance, but it is reaction gear. So reaction, pretty important. So I went with that. Don't really want the attack one. So no nuke Sify being built today. Now Duchess, the bolster set on Duchess. I like it. To be honest, I do like it. So my initial impression, my initial thoughts were that bolster gear is going to be better on champions like Arsuga, champions like Necrit, champions who are running a little bit slower because you don't want to outrun your shield. Well, a champion like Duchess at 231 speed, she's going relatively fast. Not really that fast, but she's not super slow. 231 speed, she has to get 3 turns to outrun this. On a go second team or a defense team, the enemy is going to attack me before she takes 3 turns, almost without a doubt. So her shield's going to be up there when the enemy attacks, which is the most important thing. But going fast allows me to heal and take advantage of this, plus the heals wearer by 10% every turn. So going fast allows me to take advantage of that, assuming that she's not going to assuming she's going to be attacked 3 times before the enemy, or assuming she's going to be attacked before she takes 3 turns, I'm going to get value from my shield. I'm going to get value from the heal. So I get really all the value there. So before, when I was focused on going slow, stacking a ton of HP, I think Duchess actually works out very well in a bolster set. Plus, other sets like Stone Skin can get stripped once Stone Skin's gone. I mean, it is amazing. Stone Skin's another amazing build for Duchess. It is unfortunate though when it gets stripped, you're in the same situation, except you don't have the extra heals. Basically, when Stone Skin's stripped or it outruns its course, then it's basically useless. So both sets are amazing. I think both sets definitely have their use cases for sure. It definitely depends on what champions you're running around it. But I think Duchess actually made a lot of sense in this team to have been running with the bolster set. Now Sify may even be another good candidate for bolster as well. Maybe have Duchess going fast with protection. Definitely another solid option. But Sify going fast, I could get the increased defense, the block debuffs. All of these feel good being protected. I feel like Duchess's maybe not, but honestly, Perfect Veil is really good to have protected as well. So I don't know. We'll maybe switch those gears around, maybe try something else, but it's definitely something I'm going to work on improving. Now, my current Warlord counter, I'll show you guys what that was. I really want to get some more Revenge accessories for Kandrafon. I bought them all out of the shop today, but unfortunately, I did not get any necklace that was decent. No crit damage ones. The second I get a crit damage necklace, I'm going to switch it out. I'm going to lose some attack probably, but I got to make a swap. So let me go over here real quick. I hope the video is not super, super long, but the Warlord counter that I have right now is, well, the soft Warlord counter. Let's see right here. We'll jump in here. It is actually using my bolster Duchess as well. So we have this Warlord Who. So we have Cardiel for the cleanse if we need it. The ally attack because Kandrafon absolutely destroys people with that A1 ability. Maybe I throw Lydia in the lead, so then we can go against res champions. They can't get the res. Maybe put Lydia in bolster gear. Have Cardiel in the back. Well, it doesn't really matter where he's at. We'll have 100 extra resistance, so we probably won't get locked out. I think I like that. Might try this out real quick. So let's see. So we don't have to worry about the res from Arbiter or the res from Duchess. We do have to worry about Kandrafon staying alive, but he's pretty tanky. And going against these Warlord teams, they don't always have super hard-hitting nukes, though sometimes they definitely do. Maybe I switch out Lydia for somebody else who has a really good resist aura. I don't really know. Let's see. We'll figure it out, though. But Kandrafon, he's definitely going to kill some people. He is so good. The Warlord didn't even do his lockout. That's unfortunate because I wanted to see him do a lockout. Mortu's really good because he block revives. So the block revive is so incredibly helpful. But Duchess is going to use her revive right here. See, blocked from Lydia. So there we go. Now we use the A3. Maybe I could even swap out Mortu for somebody else. Maybe a Leo instead. My Leo, he just dies a little bit easier, it seems. So turn on auto. We'll target Duchess. And yeah, run through everything. So I still have to make sure that I actually kill Duchess because she can get back around to her res, right? But I can re-gear my Lydia, make her faster, put her in bolster gear as well. I think having her fast in bolster would make sense. Fast so that she can get back through her turns to make sure if the enemy does get back to their res, that Lydia is pretty close to having her block res off cooldown. So a team like this may be a fairly consistent team. There's also a double Mortu team. There's a lot of different options I can go with. Not having the increased attack is a little bit unfortunate, so something I'm gonna play around with. If you guys got any ideas for some consistent Warlord counters, let me know. Mortu, he's iffy because if he doesn't activate his peril, then he's useless. But if he activates his peril, he is amazing, so good. Maybe I even make it double Mortu plus double Mortu, Kandrafon, and Cardiel, and then just have one of the Mortus in bolster gear. That could be a possibility as well. Having two Mortus probably increases my chance pretty highly that I actually get one of the perils off, right? I don't know. I might have to try that team out. Could even have Kandrafon in the... Well, no. Kandrafon in the lead wouldn't do that much. Probably just put Mortu in the lead for the extra speed. But guys, with that said, I'm going to wrap this video up. Thank you all very much for watching. Hopefully you all enjoy these little Plat recap videos. It's kind of longer than I expected it to be honest, but I'll catch you all in the next one.